Omdao. Hello everyone, Mana here. Hope you all have had a great week like I have, and that the weekend is going smooth for each and every one of us. And this is the time, once again, for us to chat a little bit and share some tips. Yes, Mana Handy Tips is on today, as we do every Saturday starting 6:15. And the reason why we do that is so we can get informed on conditions that we might be going through or other people that are so dear to us are going through. And although we do not go to medical school, we get some understanding, basic understanding of the conditions we go through, we experience, and little tips to learn to manage these conditions. Most of the time, these are chronic and some might be incurable. However, we learn by using the tips that we get here to live acceptable with these conditions. So today is Mana Handy Tips number 5. Because as we've started for some few weeks now, each Saturday we talk about one condition and we discuss and get a better understanding of it. And then once we do, we're able to get some tips and know what can help us or what we can use to help others to deal with such situations. So my name is Mana, as you all know by now, and it's a pleasure to welcome all of you once again today on this platform so we can talk. Hi, Sylvia. It's nice to have you back. Awesome. Always enjoy your support. Thank you. Hey, DJ Eve. Awesome. Awesome. Welcome on this platform once again, where we're going to talk about a few things as we do. And as I was saying, Mana Handy Tips is just to equip us with tips that come handy, that are helpful, and that we can avail ourselves with or help other people with regarding some things that even if we personally are not going through, we might know someone that is suffering from these. So today, as I mentioned, is Mana Handy Tips number 5. And we started by talking about regeneration versus degeneration. We've explained it. And that because the regeneration part is not happening anymore. As a consequence, as we aging, we go through some issues. And some of us are experiencing some of these already. So today we're here to talk about one other consequence of the degeneration without regenerating our body. Our cells being lost in the process of aging without our body being able anymore to make new cells. So today, what are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to speak about a disease, a condition called osteoarthritis. And that spells like this: O-S-T as in Tom, E-O as in Oscar, A-R as in Robert, T-H-R-I-T-I-S. I'm going to repeat: osteoarthritis, O-S-T-E-O-A-R-T-H-R-I-T-I-S. The reason why we're taking time to spell it out is so you can feel free to research more about it, so you get a deeper understanding if you wish to do so, so you can also verify. Hey, hi Stella, it's so nice to have you here. Hello, it's always great to see the friends of so many people coming to support. It's great to have you all. So anyway, why don't we get started? And what do we have to say today about osteoarthritis? Well, studies have shown and experienced too that this disease, osteoarthritis, is very close to many others we've named already, and among some diabetes that we recently talked about and other related disability become more and more frequent as the population age and becomes more overweight. So here we're noticing two things already. As we aging, and usually when we age, we put on weight. That happened to me, and I know that's happened to many more. Okay, because the cells are aging, that can bring about getting more weight than you used to. So it's becoming more and more frequent as the population is aging. So we're gonna use some couple strong words here. Why don't we decide or start by explaining their meaning, by defining what this means? Okay, let's start with arthritis, and that one spells A-R-T-H-R-I-T-I-S. Both are related, as you can guess, because one is included in the other. So, arthritis is simply put the swelling and tenderness of one or more of your joints. That's what arthritis is. And you'll see as the population age, we talk more and more about that. So, what is the relationship between arthritis? Bear with me just a second. As we age more and more, then what happens? We experience different types of arthritis, and there are actually three types. Okay, and osteoarthritis is the most common form of arthritis. What are the other remaining forms? We have rheumatoid arthritis. What is that? It is an autoimmune disease. That means that the immune system attacks part of the body, and especially the joints. It's really serious. What's the third type of arthritis? It is psoriatic arthritis, and that just affects the skin and joints. So that's the difference between those two. But today, we're going to focus on the most common of the types we have in arthritis, which is the osteoarthritis. So why don't we get started? Just remember, arthritis has three different types. We've named them. We have the psoriatic arthritis, we have the rheumatoid arthritis, and we have the most common, which is the osteoarthritis. Why don't we define that? Well, as we mentioned, it's the most common type of arthritis that frequently develops with age. This is a chronic condition, as you can guess. And you know what? It affects many millions of people actually worldwide. So it's worth talking about it. It's worth learning and knowing more about this. Okay. What happens? Well, in this disease, the protective cartilage that cushions the ends of your bones, meaning the joints, wears down over time. And as it does, the bones rubs against each other, and that causes much discomfort and excruciating pain sometimes. And although osteoarthritis can damage any joint, there are areas in our body that it particularly attacks. And these joints are the joints in our hands, our knees, our hips, our feet, and our spine. So these are the areas where osteoarthritis attacks more commonly, although it can be in any joint in our body. Now, there are different stages in osteoarthritis, and we can name up to 4, but we'll come back to that. Right now, we would like to talk about the symptoms. So what are the symptoms of osteoarthritis? Well, these symptoms usually begin after age 40, and that's something I can tell you about. Okay, and that can vary a lot depending on our bodies, on our health history, and many things. But generally, as you kick 40 years of age, sometimes way before, if you maybe got overweight sooner than that, it can happen before where you start feeling those. But generally, again, usually after 40 years of age, you should feel something. And so the symptoms can vary, okay? But as we mentioned, it frequently affects the fingers of the hands, the feet, our knees, our hips, and spine. And less commonly, though, it can be the elbows, the wrist, the shoulders, and our ankles. Now, what are these symptoms that can tell us this might be arthritis? Number 1 will be joint pain. You can see that my knee is hurting, and this worsens with activity. And when you're resting, you notice that you have some relief. So when you're feeling that, you can know that It might be this in combination with other symptoms that we will discuss about. So, in severe cases, though, pain can even occur at night. Even though you're resting at night, you can still be in pain. That means you have the highest level. And we'll get to that when we talk about the different types of osteoarthritis. Now, that pain is felt over or near the affected joint, but sometimes you may feel it in other areas of your body. You know, our body is one. It has different parts, but they communicate. And sometimes feeling pain in one area can radiate that pain to other areas in your body. So it's understandable where although it originates with the joints, the end of your bones, when the bones meet, you can still feel pain and discomfort somewhere else while having that. So number one symptom is joint pain. What is number two? Joint stiffness, meaning you feel rigid. You can't move around. And oftentimes it happens in the morning. That's very common for you to be stiff in the morning along your joints of the area we've talked about, which are the hands. We mentioned the wrist, less common, although it does happen. We've mentioned the knees, the elbows, we've mentioned other areas, and the spine. So you're stiff. Okay, that usually might go away 30 minutes of rising after you started feeling that stiffness. However, it may come back throughout the day if you are inactive. Now, here's a clue. Here's a clue. It's so nice to see you, Manager Lydia. Welcome aboard. Welcome to this platform where we get tips to deal with conditions we might deal with or other people we know might be going through. So, if you are inactive, as we were just saying, that stiffness may come back on and off throughout the day. And, you know, stiffness may occur depending on the weather. It can, when it's cold, you have damp or low pressure weather, it makes it worse. And some people will tell you, oh, some people with arthritis will tell you, I know when it's gonna rain. Why? Because their pain, their stiffness increases when it's cold. When the weather is damp, it's cold, or is low pressure, they can tell that it's going to rain. They can tell about the weather because of the pain going or the stiffness going in their body at that time. So number two symptoms is joint stiffness. Now we keep on. We have a number three, as you guessed. Well, the number three is joint swelling. Okay, so you can have like a hissing or grating sensation, and you can even notice changes in joint shape. Yeah, it is that serious. And you can notice bone spurs. What is that? It is smooth or hard bumps of extra bone that form on the end of the bones, and that often pop up in the joints. So that makes your joints swell up. And of course, when something is swollen, you guess it, it hurts pretty much. So the main symptoms we've talked about, and some of you may be familiar with, if unfortunately you're going through these things, we talk about joint pain, we talk about joint stiffness, and we just discussed joint swelling. Everything about joint, right? Yes. That's what osteoarthritis is about your joint. Okay, and it's a degenerative disease. It's a consequence of that process we've been discussing that doesn't occur. Now, we've considered those symptoms. Let's go now down to 4 stages that I mentioned at the beginning and see what do you feel during those stages to kind of have a guess. This might be osteoarthritis. Well, we have stage number 1. As you guess, is the minor stage. Okay, what happens? You experience minor wear and tear in the joint. So that kind of very bearable. You feel something that is something you can handle easily. You have little to no pain in the affected areas. So that's why we have the name minor. is less issue at that stage. That's stage 1. What about stage 2? Okay, stage 2 is mild. Now we live in the comfort zone. Okay, I'm not saying stage 1 you don't feel things, but still is bearable. But now when you're moving away from it, that means you're going to the worst, right? So stage 2, which is mild, is more noticeable, especially in terms of bone spurs, where you notice bumps, things that pop up in the joints, and that in that case, the affected area feels stiff after sedentary periods, after periods of inactivity. Okay, and at that time, you can need a brace. That means it's becoming serious. Let's talk about stage 3, which is moderate. In that stage, what happens? The cartilage in where you heard in where we have the osteoarthritis, it begins to erode, and that's dangerous. It's wasting away. The joint becomes inflamed, inflammation, and causes discomfort during normal activities. Things you used to do every day with no issue, now you're getting discomfort as you do them, meaning you in pain as you try to do these things that involve your joints. And what movements doesn't involve our joints? So you can imagine it's becoming more and more serious and critical, and then something we should worry about. Then the final stage 4, you guess, is the most severe. It's called severe, actually. And that means you're in a lot of pain. And I mean a whole lot of pain. What happens here? The cartilage is almost completely gone. And that leads to an inflammatory response from the joint. And then overgrowth of bony spurs. And that may cause severe pain. So as you can see, we've just talked about the 4 stages in osteoarthritis. Number 1, which is the minor, where you feel little or no pain. Then it moves to mild, and then it goes to moderate, and then severe. And we don't want to reach there at all. Now, we've mentioned the symptoms and the stages. It pays to know about what is causing it, right? Because sometimes when we know what's causing something, we can avoid it if possible, or at least minimize the effect of things on ourselves or on our dear loved ones. So, what are the causes of osteoarthritis? The primary cause, I would say, is the breakdown of cartilage over time. Remember, cartilage is what protects what is at the joint level at the end of each bone, and it cushions it, so the bones don't rub against each other. And when that is gone, then trouble. So when it starts breaking down over time, it doesn't happen overnight. No, it's been happening. You just didn't own, and then it keeps going over time. That's the primary trouble. So, what are the risk factors for developing osteoarthritis? Well, number 1, and that's the reason for our talking about this, advancing age. We've named it. As we age and we're not able to reproduce ourselves, healthy cells, then trouble comes. So, advancing age. And that's why this condition is very rare. It might happen 1 and 2, but very rare in people under 40 years of age. So, at least in the United States, we have 80% of people that are over the age of 55, X-ray shown that they have osteoarthritis. Even if it's at that time period, it can be minor, so they don't really feel, remember, little or no pain, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. That's why it's so dangerous. That's one factor, advancing age. Another one is gender. Yes, ladies have a lot of trouble, don't they? You guys say, yes, it's more common among women. Okay, and it says that women are 2 to 3 times more likely than men to develop this disease. That's troublesome for us ladies, right? Yeah, but that's the truth. So we want to be more careful as ladies regarding this disease. So gender is one risk factor. Obesity. Remember, we mentioned at the onset that putting on weight is one of the leading cause to osteoarthritis. So obesity is one risk factor. What about occupation? It's kind of sad, you will agree that, well, just because you have work and the type of work you do can, in a long run, become a disease for you. But that's the case here, unfortunately. People that perform works, occupation that require frequent squatting and kneeling, such as dock work, shipyard work, mining, cotton processing, carpentry, farm work, construction work, and many other activities that involve heavy lifting, prolonged standing, or walking several miles each day. See, that's a risk factor. Also, your occupation. If it falls in that group, the example we just gave, you more than likely to develop in your old age, because you aging now, you more likely to have osteoarthritis too, just because of your occupation in life. And again, that's really sad, but that can be a risk factor. So what else? Joint injury or trauma. And when we mention that, we think about sport. Yes, some sport involve high accidents that happen, injury that are really troublesome, that can lead to osteoarthritis too. But even though you might not be a sport person, joint injury or trauma can happen. So many accidents happen on the road. And I pray and don't want you guys to be involved with any of those, but these accidents, you don't prevent those. You don't plan them to happen, but it may happen. And even accident in the house, like a fall or some other things, can lead to joint injury, which gonna cause osteoarthritis. Okay, so we mentioned sport, some strong sport, let's put it that way, like wrestling, boxing, and even cycling. I love cycling. Hey, amen. Am I so happy to see you on board? Hello, nice to have you on the platform. And I so hope as we exchanging tips that you get something for yourself or loved ones. So, as we were mentioning, some sport like boxing, even soccer or football. In our country here, I'm sure you've heard of some from maybe the Steelers. They're from Pittsburgh. I used to live there, so I know them. Or some from other area that now are sick because of the career they've had. And now they've developed that joint injury leading to osteoarthritis. Okay, so as we mentioned, things that are risk factors that would cause your joint to be injured, or sometimes it's just getting overweight, or sometimes your occupation, and this can be risk factor that can lead to that over time as you aging to develop this disease. Now, let's have a caution here. We mentioned sport. We are not discouraging anyone from enjoying sport on personal level, because non-competitive running does not seem to increase the risk of developing this disease. So go take a walk. It's even recommended to take a walk or enjoy, maybe you enjoy swimming or other things, fine. But we're talking about the competitive. that can cause joint injury. That's what might lead as you aging and your body, is weakening in terms of immunity, and then that can end up having that. So go enjoy mild sport is allowed. Now, we've talked about some causes, but they say we are what we eat. So, is it possible that some things that we eat can also cause us trouble? As you guess it, yes, absolutely. There are some things that may contribute to that disease. What are those? Sometimes, not sometimes, oftentimes, certain ingredient like sugar, that means sweetened beverages, processed food, fried food, and partially hydrogenated fats can increase levels of inflammation in the body. And remember, we mentioned inflammation when we got to the joint, especially to the severe status. Yeah, so if we eating things that will cause an increased inflammation level in our body, we putting ourselves at risk. That's another source of cause, another source of risk factors. So, junk foods, fast food, convenience meal, potato chips, pretzels. I used to love pretzels, but since I'm doing my research and reading this, we gotta be cautious. What else? Refined carbohydrate, white bread. We might prefer um, wheat bread over this. Pasta, white, white rice, crackers, flour tortilla, biscuits, and other things. Fried food, French fries. My kids love French fries, but because I'm over 40 now, I'm careful how much I'm taking of those. What about donuts? They're very sweet on the tongue. But we want to be careful, very careful about how much we allowing in our body as we aging. We gotta put it down a little bit because we are what we eat. Mozzarella sticks, egg rolls. Yeah, those are pretty tasty things we're talking about here, and it can be hard to refrain from taking them. Okay, now sugar. We mentioned sweetened beverages, soda. I think we've all heard a lot about that. Sweet tea, energy drinks, sport drinks, all of that. And the list goes on. Processed meats, bacon, yeah, bacon, beef jerky. I'm naming all of these so we know specifically. Hi, hi, Elizabeth. Nice to have you. That's awesome. Nice to have you. We were just talking about some of the food we should not eat, as that increase inflammation in our body, which may lead to osteoarthritis. So back to our list. Smoked meat, yeah, hot dogs, and trans fat shortening, partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, margarine, and the list can go on and go on. I invite all of you, myself included, all of us actually, to kind of look for junk food list. Because some things that are so sweet, so tasty, you have no idea they're killing you. So, and we want to kind of reduce the amount of those we take in each day. It matters because we're talking about osteoarthritis. Yes, we are what we eat. So sometimes, oftentimes in this case, if we eating too much of these kinds of food while we aging, whereas our body can't handle this the way it used to anymore, then trouble. And it pays to help even our kids today to develop a reasonable use of those. So as they grow old, it will be easier for them to refrain from over eating those. But even when we at that stage where we at risk, you don't even need to overeat this to have issues because the body cannot respond as it used to anymore. So what are the consequences? Long consequences can be, you know, As we've mentioned, this is a degenerative disease that worsens over time and that often results in chronic pain. Joint pain and stiffness can become so severe, remember, stage 4, okay, and that doing everyday thing becomes difficult, okay, and without treatment, chronic pain from osteoarthritis can lead to complications, and this can really affect your quality of life to a bigger degree. So for many people, then that chronic pain can be so unbearable, and that can lead to some problems that are gonna last longer. What problems? You don't sleep well anymore, so you have sleep disruption. Your productivity is reduced. You gain weight. See, gaining weight in the first place can lead to that. And as it becomes severe, it's gonna give you even more weight that you can gain. And ultimately, anxiety and depression. And those two we wanna be scared of. Unfortunately, anxiety and depression have led some people to take their own lives. So it's just to tell you how serious osteoarthritis can become if left untreated. So it pays off to pay attention to it. So as we've mentioned, extra weight may then make it worse, the symptoms. And it can also lead to complications like diabetes, hypertension, heart disease. Whoa, you see, it's a vicious circle, okay? One leads to the other, which leads to more serious condition and back to the beginning. And it goes on and on. So we want to take action. So why don't we talk about the solutions then? All right. We're not in the doctor's office here, as I usually say. So the approach of tips. The tips Mana Handy Tips brings to the table is changes in lifestyle. So we're going to mention quickly what you can do. Okay? Now, what is the treatment for osteoarthritis? Well, it includes lifestyle modifications, medications, and ultimately surgery. Usually, surgery is the last resort. That means you pass the severe stage. There's nothing else that can help. So these are used to treat osteoarthritis, and that can limit your activity. And if you don't respond to treatment, surgery might be the only issue. And then when you have that, then it becomes debilitating after that also. So why don't we talk about the lifestyle changes? Before we move to that, we want to be able to go back. This will be stored and we'll be able to play it back and all that. So don't forget to go and sign up, okay, with Mana Handy Tips on Facebook, so you don't miss out on the tips we provide. It will be right there. And if you go right there and you sign up for it, you'll be able to, free of charge, mind you. So you'll be able to avail yourself of these tips that we provided. So let's talk about lifestyle changes. Simple things you can do that could help with that is cycling. You may wonder, well, Mana, how can someone getting in age be on a bicycle? Well, an easy solution may be a stationary bike. And some of them even have recliner. They are in such a way that it gives support to your back. It can be according to your age, and you put the lowest level. But just being to cycle, every day or sometimes in the week, it will help you with that. Well, some people love yoga. It's helpful to some. What about dance? Well, I love dancing, and I don't think I'm going to let go of that love dancing sometime soon. So it doesn't hurt to just dance. Okay, it's okay to do. And dance doesn't have an age for it. But that will move your joints and that will help you with this disease. How about swimming? Some people have a lot for swimming. That's a powerful tool for osteoarthritis as well. Okay, sometimes you might not be aware. I don't know how to swim. I don't love dancing. I can't bike. Okay, but it can be just like a little short burst of activity, like vacuuming. We all need to vacuum our home, right? So, of course, as we aging, we can't do the same things with the intensity and the amount we used to. That's why we're talking about short. Okay, so vacuuming, okay, or gardening, standing straight, it can be exercise. Okay, like you do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and so on. That can ease the stiffness. You can take a hike if you love hiking, and you can really with specialists do strength training. What is that? They help your joint, they strengthen your body. Okay, so with the erosion of the joint over, you're better equipped not to get there too fast. Now, as always, we always conclude about natural product you can use, right? Well, let's talk about it. What can we, or what do we know is helping? Okay, you know, osteoarthritis is very common in our society here in the United States. And as I mentioned at the beginning, millions around the world are being affected. So, what natural things can help? Well, usually I don't name the supplement here, but today we're going to do practitioners of, herbalists and others, or those who do alternative medicine. They use plants to help with osteoarthritis, and those plants we can avail ourselves with, such as boswellia, cat's claw, eucalyptus, ginger, turmeric, green tea, and willow bark. Okay, some of those are said to be helpful, but guess what? I have not used these ones. Some of them I use in cooking, like ginger, turmeric. I use a lot of that. But to relieve osteoarthritis, personally, I have not. But what I've read is you may encounter some side effect. Well, you may say, Mana, okay, can you tell us more? Yes, I'm going to tell you more about one thing that I've used that my mom is using. You may think, okay, Mana, you're too young for that. Still, I'm over 40 and I'm in the range of this disease, okay? And I have my own mother that's experiencing this. So that's why I have first knowledge of it, okay? So what's helping her? What's helping others that I know? Well, you guess it. You probably look behind me. Aloe Vera. Okay, simple as that. Aloe Vera. That's the most used herbs in alternative medicine, and is available in many forms. Yet, the best one is the original gel, not transformed in any way. Okay, because aloe vera is known for its healing property and helping with joint pain. Why? Because it has anti-inflammatory properties. Go Google it, you'll be able to verify that. And what is best, it doesn't have the negative gastrointestinal effect of some other things. Okay, that's why I'm gonna go by what I know. Okay, so what my recommendation, my tips today mainly will be aloe vera, and it comes in various types. Some you can even apply topical application that you apply directly to the skin. That's killing you. And some researchers have suggested taking aloe vera by mouth may relieve osteoarthritis pain, and that my mom does do often, and I do myself. And you imagine, if I'm over 40, my mom is advanced in age, right? And she is really benefiting from this aloe vera, the edible one, the real. So get the real aloe vera, and we remain available to help with that. And if you choose to know more, you know where to go. Mana Handy Tips on Facebook, and we'll be happy to help you with more tips regarding this. Well, we're gonna be finishing soon, but remember we say we are what we eat, and we talk about what we shouldn't eat, but we can live without talking about what we should indeed eat. And what are these that can help? In addition to the aloe vera, You can also, that in your everyday, there are food that we consume already. You increase how much you're eating of those. It can help with inflammation, therefore helping with osteoarthritis and diminishing the risk of it. What are those? Berries. Where we live, it comes in terms of strawberries, blueberries. That's my favorite. Blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. We have a lot of berries here. And fatty fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel, anchovies, and even herring fish. Okay. And what about other things? Broccoli, avocados, dark chocolate, tomatoes, and even tomatoes, yes, and many others. So, yes, there are things we can eat that will help us reduce inflammation, thereby minimizing our risk for osteoarthritis. So, as we've seen today, we've talked about osteoarthritis, and we've mentioned that this is the most common type of arthritis, which has 3 different types. Okay, and we've talked about the symptoms. We mentioned the 4 stages of it, how you feel about it, what you should be feeling, how it should be expressing itself in your body, and we talk about the causes, and then we talk about how it can worsen, what it can lead to. And finally, we've discussed the solutions, and we mentioned the different and various tips that you can use. And that's why we're here, to provide tips that can help ease the pain that we go through when we have to deal with all these, which are consequences of aging process. So we remain available. Mana Handy Tips, don't forget, and sign up for it. Okay, sign up and you'll be able to have this. If you've missed the beginning of it, no problem. Remember to go like the page, sign up for it, and you'll be able to have access to not just the redivision of this, not just this one, but also Mana Handy Tips 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is number 5. We're gonna make it available. So don't forget to check Mana Handy Tips. And if you have any questions, concerns that we may help with, it will be a pleasure. Otherwise, we coming at the end of our presentation today. It was nice having all of you, and I hope that you've grabbed something that you can use, some tips that you can use either for yourself or for your loved ones. So we want to thank you so much for your time today. And guess what? We'll be back, God willing, in 1 week. That's going to be Saturday starting 6:15 New York times. Until then, it was a pleasure to have you today with me, and we've talked about osteoarthritis. Now, get back to Mana Handy Tips for more info, questions, or anything, more tips, and we'll be happy to help you, assist you as we can. Okay, but don't forget to have regular checkups. So if you have these things, it can be diagnosed early, and if you choose to use nature, that would be very helpful. Until then, thank you so much for being here with me today, and I'll see you in a week. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.